Working a 9 to 5 in today's world, I would say it's a bit more odd, a bit more different than what it used to be compared to our grandparents. I say that only because the American dream has changed since what it was before, what it was speculated to be compared to what it is now. So with that being said, obviously I want to start with my first point. Is working a 9 to 5 even worth it nowadays? I say that because there's a lot of things that you could be doing. I mean, think about it now. You have a lot more opportunity than what our grandparents had. Sometimes maybe even our parents. If you think about it, there's more remote jobs now. You can literally work from home. There's people that make money off streaming, sports, which is even a crazy thing to even talk about on its own. But when I say is it worth it, I mean like is it worth it? Applying to a company, working for a company, 8 hours, 5 days a week, sometimes even more. Is it worth it compared to what you could be doing now? You're working for somebody else who, will literally replace you if needed, and sometimes even within the next day or next hour, no matter how much effort you put into the company, blood, sweat, and tears, all that can go down the drain just by one simple mistake. Compared to you starting up your own business, or you're working for yourself, or you have your own company, who don't even care about them or will literally replace them, any chance given if necessary, which is crazy to think about. You see it all the time, no matter, what job you work, whether it's a white collar job, blue collar job, you literally see it everywhere. It's pretty common nowadays. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're able to, put that same amount of effort, put that same amount of time into like your own personal gain. But even with that being said, like I'm only bringing this up because if you're at a company, let's say 30, 40 years, let's say within 30, 40 years, you're not like a big top guy or something like that. Just think about it. You just wasted 30, 40 years of your life where you could have used that and, made your own company, made your own brand, or, did something, more for yourself where you'd get more in return. It's crazy to think about that these companies, they literally want you to put so much effort in for less in return. Where back then, like back when our grandparents or maybe even our parents, back then you were able to, you know, do a construction job. You'd be able to do a construction job, have kids, have your house, have a car, wife, and married, and all that by like 23 to 25 years old. Where nowadays, like, and that's only one person working too as well. Let's not forget that. But that's a whole other topic on its own. You literally would need wife and spouse to literally. You would literally need both wife and husband or both couples to literally work nowadays to like literally support what I just said. Where back then it only took one person to do that, and most of the time it was the male. But even said, like you were guaranteed more. You're able to retire with a pension. House, everything. Nowadays, like the average house owner, like by the time you buy your first house, is like at 40 years old, which is also crazy to think about. And that's the average. Imagine people that don't even buy a house in general, or they're below average. You basically worked your whole life for a house, one house. And even to touch on this more, like even for you to excel in a company, like not only do you have to go, far, above and beyond for these people, but think about it. If there's already a CEO, you would have to wait for this, you would have to wait for that position to open up. And sometimes you would have to wait years. And imagine if you waited that position and you didn't even get it, or you're waiting for that position and the person that you're waiting for you to take over it doesn't even leave the position. Again, you just wasted all that time, and for what? For you to expect something in return and you got nothing. Which is basically what happens most of the times when you work for these companies, whether it's a corporate job or even a construction job, union, or something like that. Which sucks because the only people who suffer is like, us, the average worker. At the end of the day, people just do this because they need to make a living. I mean, let's be honest, who really wants to work? And especially now, the way the world is now, everything's so expensive. And some people make good money, and some, like, it's just the way the life is now. Like, it's just so expensive now. Sometimes even working a 9 to 5 is not even worth it. Or doesn't even cut it sometimes. Also, with that being in mind, I mean, there's also a possibility of you having potential burnout. For those who don't know, basically that means you're just burning yourself out at work. You basically become like kind of like a robot. You're just on the same routine, 5 days a week, 8 to 12 hours, for those people who work overtime. And there's people who even work more hours than that on a daily or on a week. And sometimes these people, you have to work 6 days a week. Eventually, doing that day in, day out, you're going to get tired. I mean, at the end of the day, we are humans. We do need to rest. We're not robots. We can't continuously run. We can't continuously run day by day like that, months or years at a time. Eventually, you will have a burnout. And this is all too, I mean, like I'm saying, you're working for companies who are burning you out, and sometimes the reward that you're getting is just not, it does not equal to the amount of work you're giving or putting in. And I mean, that's with anything anyways though. I mean, eventually, like if you do anything repetitive enough, you'll burn out eventually. That's not just with working a 9 to 5. I don't want anybody to think I'm just bashing, working a 9 to 5. There's nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5. I work a 9 to 5. Like I said, I'm not here to bash anybody working 9 to 5 or bash anything about working a 9 to 5. I'm just trying to give a different perspective on this, because the world today, I feel like we're just sold something that it just doesn't work anymore. But let's think about the pros. Like, think about it. I mean, obviously, one, you have financial security, right? You're working a job, you're able to pay your bills, you're able to, buy the things that you need, to help you live and support you, or support others if needed. Obviously, the cons, like I've been talking about, potential burnout. You're building someone else's brand, someone else's company. You're helping them get richer. Also, some people might not agree with me on this. Some people might agree with me on this, but I feel like just now, working at 9 to 5, it just doesn't work. It's pretty outdated. Like I said, back then, like, our grandparents, like I said, you're able to work a job. One person was able to work, and by the time you were like in your mid-20s, you already had a house, you had a pension, that was coming to you later on when you retired. You had car, wife, kids, and everybody all lived off one person's salary. And now it just feels like you need double the salary, or both parents have to work. I just feel like nowadays you don't get that no more. The American dream, so to say, more likely, like it's not really sold to us anymore. And even if it was sold to us, I feel it would just be a flat out lie, because it just does not work anymore. I live in California, and 65 grand for one person to live and for you to have a house, it's just not gonna happen. If you live in California, the houses out here have doubled, skyrocketed. And it sucks because it used to work before back then, and it worked perfectly fine. It was a good system. Everyone was happy. And even with that being said, I mean, everybody could be doing something else. Like I said, you could be building your own brand, starting a company, working on yourself more, build a name for yourself. Which, let's be honest, at some point we all want to end up doing this anyways. I mean, who wants to work for another person when you can literally work for yourself, build your own kind of empire, kingdom, so to say. I mean, and there's other things you can do besides breaking your back for these jobs. You can start a podcast. You can be an entrepreneur, talker, speaker. You work from home, than to work for a company at a 9 to 5. And obviously, I'm not saying if you're working at 9 to 5, go quit your 9 to 5. Especially if you're trying to find a goal, or you're trying to start something that requires money. Obviously, like I said earlier, it provides some type of financial security. You're getting paid, right? Don't just quit your job and pursue your goal. You want to be smart. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to work your 9 to 5, earn the money, use that to help fund your goal. And then once your goal starts making enough money for you where you don't have to work a 9 to 5, well, then there you go. You pretty much won. At that point, you don't need a 9 to 5. So I don't want anybody to think I'm saying like, hey, go quit your 9 to 5 and go pursue this and go do that. Pursue your goal, but have some income coming in, steady income. It's just something to think about. But hopefully I didn't ramble on for too long. But basically, the whole end point of this is, if you find a way to work for yourself, I would highly recommend doing that. Starting your own company, building a brand for yourself, building a name, starting something. And if you're going to work for a company, work for a good company that values you, obviously. Don't join a company that's going to, God forbid something happens to you and the next day you're replaced or something like that. Find a company that treats you the way you want to be treated. Don't ever settle for less. But on that note, I'm probably going to end the video here, because this map is beyond awful. Literally one of the worst maps I've ever played in my entire life of gaming history. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, I appreciate everybody that tunes in. Like I said, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate everyone. And on that note, I appreciate everybody that tunes into these videos. Thank you to everybody that stayed to the end. Until next time, peace.